Hola y bienvenidos a la unidad 4, lección 41A. Unit 4, lesson 41A, present tense irregular stem changing verbs. So you will need for this lesson your unit 4 packet, and you may need some index cards to make some flashcards, something to write with. This is a partner optional activity. If you don't have these things, make sure you pause the video right now and get them. Okay, el objetivo. Los estudiantes podrán. Students will be able to define what it means to conjugate in their own words. We should already know this. And memorize the conjugation process for irregular AR, ER, IR stem changing verbs, also known as boot verbs in the present tense. Our verb of the day is pensar, to think. And our quote, La cita dice, success doesn't come from what you do occasionally. It comes from what you do consistently. As always, a reminder, your handouts in your packet can be found on the electronic resource binder, which is linked in the Launchpad. We are working today with present stem change verbs. All right, if you haven't already done so, the first step, you were supposed to have taken your self-assessment for level 1. You should have moved these, made a copy, moved these little check marks over to what you can or can't do at this point. And then you should have stopped there, made sure that you made a copy of the document and attached it to the Google Classroom. So if you haven't done that already, pause the video right now and do so. Okay, let's do a quick review. To be able to use our irregular verbs, we need to go back to our basic information, refresh our brains. And first, we need to know our subject pronouns. So I is yo, you informal, tú, he, él, she, ella, you formal, usted, we, nosotros or nosotras if all girls, you informal in Spain, vosotros or vosotras if it's all girls, they, ellos or ellas if it's all girls, and you formal or informal, ustedes. We also need to remember our present tense endings. For AR, it's o, as, a, amos, ais, an. For ER, o, es, a, amos, eis, en. And for IR, o, es, a, imos, is, en. If any of that felt fuzzy for you, pause the video and pull out your flashcards, do a little practice to refresh your brain. Okay, on to today's lesson. We are going to be learning about verbos con cambio de raíz, stem changing verbs. These are irregular verbs, meaning they don't follow the normal rules of conjugation. These are also frequently called boot verbs because if we draw a line around the part that is irregular with a stem change, it forms a boot. We already know one of these types of verbs, the verb tener, which is an E to IE stem change. We know this as tengo, tienes, tiene, tenemos, tenéis, tienen. The change of the stem, if we drop the ER, the stem is TEN, but here we have TIEN, tienes, the E changed to IE. All of these inside the boot, with the exception of tengo. So this is a double irregular verb. This is both a stem change verb, and it's also what's called a go verb. We're going to learn about those in the level 2 of this unit. All right, so let's break it down. How does this work? There, you should be taking notes in your packet on the first page, so you know what to do. There are 3 steps to conjugating a stem changing verb. The first step is we are going to quitar la AR, ER, IR. So we're cutting off the ending, just like we did before with our regular verbs. Step number 2 is the extra step. Cambia la raíz para todas las conjugaciones, menos nosotros y vosotros. So we are changing the stem except for nosotros and vosotros. So inside the boot, yes. So we're going to change for yo, we're going to change for tú, we're going to change for el, ellos, usted, and we're going to change for ellos, ellos, ustedes. But outside the boot, no, we're just going to follow regular conjugation process. Just two steps. One, cut off the AR, ER, IR, and then add our endings. Our third step for the irregularity inside the boot is we are just going to add our ending. So one additional thing you need to write down on your packet, because this isn't in your packet. If there is more than one vowel in the stem, always change the one closest to the end of the stem. So for example, the verb repetir, to repeat, is an E to I stem change. There's two E's in the stem, right? If we cross off the IR, we are left with REPET. There's two E's. Which one do we change? Always the one that's closest to the end of the stem. Okay, let's see this in action now. So I have my rules written up top here, and we're just going to practice with the verb jugar, which means to play, as in sports or games. Remember, we have a different regular verb, tocar, for instruments and musical items. So the verb jugar, to play, we're going to cut off our AR, and that leaves us with jug for our stem. Our second step is that we are going to change the root for all of the conjugations except for nosotros and vosotros. So nosotros and vosotros stays jug, but I have to change that U to a UE for these three. So it now becomes jueg, jueg, jueg. And then my third step is I just add my ending. This is an AR verb, so I'm adding o, as, a, amos, ais, an. So now my verb is conjugated. Yo juego, tú juegas, él juega, nosotros jugamos, vosotros jugáis, and ellos juegan. Okay, your job now is in your packet to highlight or underline or star, do something for the verbs that I have listed in yellow. These are the verbs that you are going to be responsible for on this unit. The other verbs are great to also start working on memorizing, but for the moment, right, we can't do them all at once. So for the moment, you are going to make your list of flashcards for all of these verbs. As usual, on one side, you're going to put the verbs. So for example, atender, to attend to. Notice this is not attending to school. This is to attend to somebody. Like if you're a nurse, you're going to attend to your patient. So we're going to put atender on one side. We're going to put the English translation to attend to on the other side. But with our Spanish verb, we also need to put E to IE with it. You can put that in parentheses behind so that you know this is an E to IE stem change. You have to memorize there are 5 different types of stem changes. So you have to memorize which are which. Go ahead and pause the video and come back for the next slide. Okay, now we're on to the O to UE stem changes. So again, all of the verbs that are highlighted in yellow, you are going to star or highlight. I should actually pause for just a moment. I forgot to ask you to do something on the other slide. So for each one of these slides, after you've starred or highlighted the required verbs, I need you to conjugate these verbs in your packet. There's a little conjugation table, and I want you to do the conjugations for them. So you're going to do that for the E to IE, which we've already completed. And now, again, you are going to star or highlight, underline these verbs that you are required to know. And you are going to then pick 3 of them and conjugate them in your packet. Go ahead and pause the video right now to do that, and then come back for the next slide. Okay, we are on to our third category of stem changers. These are E to I stem changers. You can see it's a small list and you're only going to be required to do 5. So again, highlight or star or underline these 5 E to I stem changes and make sure you pick 3 of them to conjugate. If you are going to choose the verb corregir, which if you want, you can just copy that so you'll have one done. This is also a spelling change, so it's a double irregularity. In the yo form, the G changes to a J because we want to maintain the original sound of the verb corregir. We have the H sound here. But if we leave the G here with an O ending, it would say corrigo. And that's not the sound that we want, right? So this goes back to our spelling rules that we learned at the beginning of the year. So if you want, you can copy this and then go back and pick 2 of these other ones to conjugate in your packet. Go ahead and press pause now and complete that. Okay, our last 3 categories are I to IE, U to UE, and O to HUE. These are very small lists of common verbs with these spelling changes. We only have 2 for the I to IE, adquirir to acquire, and inquirir to inquire. We have U to UE, which we've already learned with jugar to play. And then we have O to HUE for the verb oler to smell or oler a to smell like. All of these are already conjugated here on your packet, so you just need to make your flashcards to practice. Okay, at this point, I want you to stop and pause the video. Find me, find Mr. Flack, so I can check the conjugations that you did for the first 3 categories and make sure that they're okay and help you with any corrections you might need. Finally, make sure that you make flashcards for all of the required verbs that you don't already know, including what their stem change is. So again, you are putting the O to UE or the E to IE or E to I accordingly for each group. All right, great job. We will see you on the next lesson.